After their December job swap, Alan Pardew and Alan Kirbishley face their former sides today as Charlton take on West Ham in a crucial six-pointer at the Valley. Well, both managers have struggled at their new clubs. Charlton have registered just one win from their last 6 games. West Ham have failed to win any of their last 9 in the Premiership. Jonathan Pearce and Mark Bright have been speaking to the two Allans on the prospect of facing their former sides.
I said when I came in to West Ham 2 months ago that you couldn't have made it up, you know, especially when Alan went over to Charlton, you couldn't have made it up, and it's just quite unique.
What does Charlton Athletics still mean to you?
Oh, an awful amount. I mean, if you talk about 20 years of your life, which is what it nigh on was, and you know, the things that have happened in that 20 years while I was there, you know, you can never forget it.
I don't think Charlton fans begrudge that I have a special feeling for West Ham. It was an emotional journey for me. It was like I'd come through a few wars, and obviously I wanted to come through that last one, but it wasn't giving me time to do that. I will never, that feeling for West Ham will never go out of me, never.
West Ham have played a big part of your life as well, right from schoolboy days, schoolboy dreams.
Yeah, I first came into West Ham as a 12-year-old and was trained by John Lyall Tuesday and Thursday evenings, helped by Frank Lampard Senior. Brought up in Canning Town, went to school in Canning Town on the Barking Road, and so I know, obviously, the feelings of the club and how it's run and how it's operated.
Your family must be split as well, aren't they, at the moment?
No, they're all West Ham. I felt I'd always go back as a manager in the opposing dugout, but it would be nice if it was not so vital.
Do you think Skirbs will get a good reception at the weekend?
Well, he has every right to. I mean, what he's done here, this stadium and everything. I mean, it was funny because when we went back to the stadium, we trained at the Valley on Monday, and I remember walking around with my hard hat. I'm not sure if he was here at that time, but and Kirbs was the manager, and Christ, what it is now is all down to the success he brought this club. So I'm sure they will give him the ovation he deserves.
If we had a perfect world, then I'd get a great reception from the Charlton fans, and Alan will get a great reception from the West Ham fans. No, not a perfect world. That's what should happen.
Unfortunately, for Alan Kirbs and Kirbishley and myself, it's going to be difficult to accept defeat in this particular game. And it will take a long Sunday and probably Monday to get over, for sure. And then it will always be in the memory bank. So it's one of those that you want to win.
Is this do or die for one of you?
I think it's a big game. You can't take that away. We blew the one 2 weeks ago, home to Watford. We can't afford to blow another one.
It's Henderson against Green, and it's Watford who take the lead.
I didn't expect what's happened in the 10 league games, I must admit, and it's been a bit tough, but you know, I think that if I come out at the end of it, I'll be a lot stronger and a lot better manager than perhaps I went into it.
I've tried to change us a little bit into a more forward-thinking front foot team, and that takes time, but I feel we're getting there, and hopefully we can produce that on Saturday.
I've learnt a few things. That's an interesting thing to say. Been a manager for 15 years, but I've learnt a lot in the last 8 weeks while I've been at West Ham.
It's going to be about holding your nerve. It's going to be able to play, because it's no good just trying to be forceful and rushing things and being in people's faces. You have to do that, but you have to play. And the team that probably plays the better football between now and the end will survive, and I hope that's us.
I came into a club who was in the bottom 3. Everyone was expecting us to be out of it by now. I did, and we're not. We haven't come off the pitch since I've been here and sneaked to win, done anything like that. You know, however it happens on Saturday, we've got to get the win.
Come what may, there'll be a drink afterwards.
There'll be a drink after, yeah. Someone will be very sad. Or if it's a draw, we'll both be sad. Of course, that's the worst scenario for us, probably, for them and us, is a draw. So I think hopefully one will be happy and hopefully it'll be me.
Well, we can speak to Jonathan Pearce, who's at the Valley for Match of the Day. Afternoon, JP.
Afternoon, Manish.
So what kind of reception will the two managers, what can they expect to get today?
Well, Alan Curbishley, that is, said to me on Thursday that it might have been a better reception if the teams had been better placed. But I still think he'll be warmly received by the Charlton fans after 15 years here. He took them back into top-flight football and brought them back here, ironically, from their spell at Upton Park. West Ham fans are sure to greet Alan Pardew well. A lot of them still think he was harshly done by the chairman, Eggert Magnusson. They knew that he had problems at the start of the season. One or two players didn't settle after the euphoria of the FA Cup. There were operations for others. Dean Ashton was injured, the takeover business, the arrival of the Argentinians. He had to put up with a lot, and they still think that he was unlucky in losing his job. They've not been, some of them, as kind to Alan Curbishley, ironically, which is very strange because Alan Curbishley has faced the same problems, and he's had to learn about his players in game situations, Manish. He hasn't had the luxury of too many training sessions, apart from the last 2 weeks. In that fortnight, Charlton went away to Marbella. They've trained very, very hard, and around the stadium at this stage, there seems to be more positivity from the few Charlton fans I've met than the West Ham supporters I've spoken to.
Is it make or break for the two teams today?
Well, I certainly think so. In the history of the Premiership, there have been 35 meetings between teams in the bottom three in the relegation run-in from February onwards. Only 5 teams have lost those games and still stayed up. I think it's going to be very hard for both of these sides. Charlton look as if they're going to be boosted by the return of Darren Bent. That's been heavily speculated. As for West Ham United, well, they're waiting a fitness test on Matthew Upson, who's had a calf strain. Bent's return could be crucial, and as I say, the feeling here is a little bit more positive about Charlton, but then it is a home game, and one or two of the West Ham fans I think are in doorways, because you may have noticed, Manish, it's pouring with rain.
I did, Jonathan. Thank you very much indeed. Les, let's start with you. You're at West Ham for a few months. This game has been hyped up for so much now over the last few days. Is it down to the team that keeps its composure, which will come out on top?
Yeah, it certainly will be. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, and obviously about the two different managers, but you know, let's get back to what's going on the park at this moment in time. And you know, the teams have been underachieving. Charlton, good news that Darren Bent might be back for him, because he probably is their best player, and he's one player that they do need. As far as West Ham concerned, if I'm looking at the two teams, I'm looking at the impact that Pardew's had since he's gone to Charlton, and it seems a lot better than the impact Alan Curbishley's had going to West Ham. You know, Charlton players, if I was looking at the two teams, I'd say Charlton were in the ascendancy more than West Ham at this moment in time.
Martin, you know what it's like to keep your composure in big games, or maybe not, I suppose. Do you agree with Les there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, lots of talk about the managers, but listen, there's a big game here, and it's about the players on the day. You know, that nobody wants to be in this situation, but it worries me a little bit at West Ham that lots of things seem to reach the press, lots of stories. There's a little bit of a mole in the camp there. That's not ideal. Today, Charlton, I think they play all the teams around them in the next 3 to 4 games. They have a real opportunity, if they can win today, to get out of this trouble.
Yeah, Jonathan Pearce mentioned Darren Bent will be back for Charlton. That's a huge boost for them, Laura.
Well, it is, because he's the best player and obviously the goal scorer. But I think if you look at both teams, they've got 11 games left.
Yeah.
They need to win at least 5, if not 6, of those games, let alone today's match. And it's a big ask for both. I think Charlton do look better. West Ham, I don't know what the problem is at West Ham. It's something, I think, that's an inner problem. They've signed some decent players. They can't get them on the pitch because they're injured at the moment. But there's something fundamentally wrong at that football club. Nothing to do with Alan Curbishley.
Yeah.
Something that was already there for me.
I've seen Alan Pardew's put up some motivational quotes up on the dressing room. Does that actually make a difference to the players, Les?
I think some...
Depends if they can read it.
Yeah.
But I think some players will go in and respond off it. Some players it won't affect at all. I know there's various managers have done that while I was playing, and some players go and read them and like
Eddie
them.
Boothwell did it at Watford, didn't he?
Eddie was a good believer in that, a big believer in that, and he had them around the place. Like I said, some players took them in, some players didn't.
Best motivation?
Go on.
Your wages are cut by 50% if you get relegated.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else.
Yeah, you could do with Romanoff as a chairman, perhaps. No, OK, maybe not. And finally, what about a prediction for the game? How do you see it going?
For me, I think, like I said, Charlton at this moment in time, I think they're the better team at this moment in time, and Alan Pardew's got a better response out of his play so far.
Martin?
I think Charlton will win. Their fans are much more patient than the West Ham fans, and I think that home advantage today will be enough for them.
Because they're both desperate to win, it'll be a draw.
You think so? Which is
the law of the sod,
either side.
The law of the sod, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. OK, and for the latest from...